Yeah. I got melanin. Oh yeah. I got melanin. You mad? We got melanin. Melanin. I got melanin. Oh yeah. I got melanin. You mad?
Son, you're American born, you have slave heritage in you. Your parents are still waiting for the 40 acres that were promised. This is, I think, where his thought pattern was going. Not singularly to a person like a crime has been committed, you have been accused of something, or you've been raped, not such, but as a
And I
large.
think also collectively what happened to us was crimes. And
It is.
when I think of my ancestors, like I was born in South Africa, we've been through apartheid, our land was taken from them. And what I would like to take from that is, it was shameful what happened to us. And victimhood is that, right? It takes your face away. It makes, like you look at your men. I mean, when I walk around South Africa and I look at our men, their shoulders are hunched forward because they lost the war. And they did. Something happened to them and they were not, but for them to come from a point of saying that, like for us collectively, to not admit this or to not actually take it upon ourselves, like, look, this happened to us, it was very painful, and if we are to move forward, and even in the systems that we work in today, some of the oppressive systems we used to live with, they were just redesigned. It's not like we are living in a society where now we are the free.
And that's exactly the ring that
I think that's, and that's what,
Okay, when we have a fight, let's not always look at, when we say fight, let's not always look at punching each other. When there's a fight happening, the response is a counterattack. You see what I'm saying? But if you get hit and you take that moment to say, well, I'm a victim, I just got hit, then you just lost the fight. Well, if you get hit and you say, let me counter,
I'm always disagreeing with this word victim because it's like, wait, what you're already talking about here is a fight, like, now I'm just gonna get like all pedantic about it because it depends on like, does this person know that they're coming into a fight? Because if they know, then we're both battling, right? Well, like if you're hit, and so if you're hit, it's like which is fair in which fight?
I think it's the concept of I'm hit, I'm down, do I stay lying down?
Or do I get up and
back
fight?
up?
But
I think I can interject in that one because I do understand what both sides are saying because I do find that there is this strength in owning up to being a victim as well. You know, for example, people that were raped or, that were discriminated against us. You know, I was a victim of discrimination. Someone called me a nigger. I was raped when I was 6 years old or whatever. Owning up to that victimhood, I get it, acknowledging the victimhood.
That it happened.
But I think what Saeed is trying to say is that even though these things, exactly, do not let it define, am I right in saying that? Like not letting this define?
yes, we've been victimized. We are victims in a way. But what is, understood, but what is the time period on that?
Yeah.
that's what I need.
There's
But that's the thing, there isn't.
We have
I
to.
think we've been taught that being a victim means that we are now no longer responsible for our own destiny. And I think everybody at this table says that they
No, I don't think that's what
I hear two different things. Like from Saeed's point of perspective, you can't really tell the black faces that you see where they come from. However, the way people walk usually gives you a good definition of whether they come from an affluent society or whether they're like coming under the radar. When you go near Görlitzer Park, you see a lot of these black brothers and they're hunched, man. They look scared. They look like someone's still chasing their back. They look like they look physically like each and every one of us. There's nothing physically different. It's this mentality that they have that they are victims. It's a mentality that they are victims and they are still hunted.
Yeah.
And then you see another black brother walking down the exact same street and he's holding his head up high and he has his, new clothes on. And it's the way that he walks, which usually, in my mind, it helps to define how he considers himself. It also usually is a definition of like, okay, how he entered Germany. Do you know what I mean? Like what status he has. And it's not that he has not been victimized in his home country, but it's that he has absorbed the victimhood and he's saying, okay, I'm fighting back. Victimhood is not simply who I am.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Let me say, like, and so when I hear this fight mentality, I feel like victimhood, like acknowledging your personal pain, being able to fully and completely acknowledge it is usually what forces you to, like, again, become a fighter, right? To fight back for yourself, to fight to protect yourself, whether you're a woman or a man, whether you're straight or LGBTQ. It's like you need to somehow have a protection. You need to somehow say to society, stop. You can't do this to me anymore. You know? But you have to acknowledge that they have victimized you.
But I also think that a lot of times that throughout history, what we've seen, and I think this is where perhaps we also see like eye on this, and like the use of the word victim. For me, it's like there are many people who are victims of all sorts of crimes, like social and legal crimes that are happening and have happened. Like if I take, for instance, you know, like when I think of Harriet Tubman, she was a victim, but no one would ever use that word to describe her because we think of her as a very accomplished, resilient woman, and she was, and we see that with so many people, but it's like, it's almost, it's as if this binary is set up that it's like, okay, victim, or like I've overcome it, and I feel like two things can be true, and that you are a victim because these things happen to you. Terry Crews had this, like, he is the, you know, quintessential archetype of like a strong black man, and he still is a victim because somebody inappropriately touched him and sexually harassed him. And I think that also historically, no measures were ever in place for victims, except maybe recently. When I say recently, I say in the last century, maybe for white women, have there been now structures put into place to help victims. And only in the last 2 years, we've seen that people are even beginning to have a conversation of how Black women are victims and Indigenous women are victims and how we can help them. But the fact that we are constantly as a society internationally conflating the word victim with sort of being oppressed or unresilient, I think that's where I as a writer and somebody who's very literary based, like I get caught up in the pedantics of it, because I'm like, it's possible to be a victim and to fight and to be resilient.
What I wanted to say was, I think it's also like to what you were saying about like a man from Goitsy Park and some other, but I think it's also a question of like classism, because the guys who are sitting at Goitsy Park don't have papers. They know they can't swagger around town because, I mean, if the police ask them where are you going, so they do have a reason to be hunched back and not walking around freely, because they are not free to walk around. So I would also like to address that it's not a, like, I don't think that they are in perpetual victimhood because they're hiding behind bushes in the park. I think that is the fact of their lives. That's how their lives are set up. There's basically a system that is out chasing them every day. And for us to say, oh, don't be a perpetual victim, so that, like,
what about the victims walking around with their head high?
How you deal with this victimhood.
Victims need an apology. So they're waiting for something to be rectified. And that's the issue.
But that's wrong. As a victim, you're not actually waiting. It has happened.
No, you're waiting for something to good. Like,
it has happened.
Apology to,
It has happened. However, when there's a fight going on, there is no particular victim. They say, okay, you just hit me, got it, counter. You see what I'm saying? I'm not waiting for you to say sorry for hitting me. I'm now going to show you my response. I'm now going to give you my response. When you play chess, it's the best game in the world, because like, okay, you got my guy. You're about to get me in a checkmate. Do I just accept that? Do I stay in that position?
Show resilience. Okay, Elisabeth.
This is the thing. We have this conflation of the word victim with defeated.
Yes.
And so it's difficult until that has been recognized in our definition. It's difficult to accept their own victimhood, because for us it means I'm accepting defeat. However, if you accept that something has been perpetrated on you, then you can accept the word victim. If something has been perpetrated on me, then I think what's really important, I want to pick up on that word apology. You know, if I'm going to want and expect an apology coming from outside, well, I could be waiting point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because that's the
That's
problem.
it.
I decide
Yeah.
that there has been something perpetrated on me. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Next,
Yeah.
what am I going to do?
What
am I
you
going
trust
to do?
knowing that something has been done.
Because
Yeah, wait 1 second, Asoka. I think Jeff had something to say. Right?
I think that that was a micro.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
definitely it's about what I'm going to do after
After,
the video. But
yeah.
also, of course, you have to recognize that if something happened to you, obviously you see what happens.
What
You kind of try to analyze that, and then you make your next strategic.
Yes. And I also think that.
One second.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you make the next thing. That's why I'm not sure if I like the fight analogy so much as more of a war analogy in that sense. Like you've been defeated in that battle, but then the whole thing is not over. I'm gonna do my counter thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something else.
I
And
think
Asoka?
what's really important is why the question of the word of victimhood is constantly batted about within the Black communities, because other communities, the communities that have victimized us, refuse to acknowledge our victimhood.
Yes.
Right? Refuse to acknowledge that there was a crime.
Yes.
And instead reverse the situation and try to make themselves the victim
Yeah.
and us the victimizers.
Yeah.
Because we're calling them out on the crime.
Because this is and until that happens, they will continue to victimize, molest, steal, and rape from us.
Yeah.
Because they do not acknowledge that they're doing anything wrong. And that is, I think, the key point is that we recognize our own victimhood, you know, that basically, not even, forget victimhood, we recognize that crimes have been committed against us. And we recognize that these crimes are continuously, yeah, they're still being perpetrated against us.
Yeah.
You know, colonialism never truly ended. We have to acknowledge that. It didn't end.
No.
The enslavement of Black bodies in the U.S. never ended.
Not only in the US, also we see that
everywhere
in
else,
North Africa, for example, we see that in Arabic states.
You
Still
know,
happening.
so it's not that we're like past our victimhood. We're not. We're still in it. We're still living in the state of the crime, and we still need to get these people to recognize that there's a crime that has been committed and there's a crime that is being committed, and they need to fucking stop.
Now,
Yeah. Wait 1 second. What's the
But
next
while
slide?
we're waiting-
Saeed, yeah? Saeed.
Now, two questions on that, right? Which part of our brain do we maintain as victimhood? And also, what's the time period on that?
But that's what I'm
But
saying.
also, what I'm saying is
As
that
long as it
there
happens,
is
we
no
are still
time
punished.
period.
It's
still
Because
happening.
I would say our ancestors
Wait, one
have
at a
been
time.
fighting. I mean, we are not the first group of resistors against white supremacy. Also, when you think about this victimhood, you're saying like maybe the Black people behind us, we've been fighting. Haiti, we've been resisting this thing. We have been.
All the time.
All the
Yes.
time.
All the time.
Yes,
All the
it's
time.
just-
I would like to say it's not like, again, I know I would like to move beyond the word victimhood and just move to the word crime. It's not that where within our mind is there this victimhood that, you know, I'm saying like there's the crime that's been committed. Has the crime been addressed?
Yeah.
You know, has the crime been acknowledged?
So can I
You know.
hear your question? You have two questions.
Well, the thing was, which part of our brain do we maintain this acknowledgement of victimhood? Right?
Definitely subconscious.
And then, exactly, and then also, how long does that remain in our brain?
Can I ask a question about that?
Why-
Because this is the
why
second
forever?
time that you've asked that question.
The thing is,
But
And I want to
just a
know
moment.
why.
the thing is, can I answer? Can I answer that?
I mean, it's a
Okay.
question to them,
Yeah. Or yeah, it's true. Please go ahead.
But the thing is, once we start making that space in our brain, then we're not using that space to be strategic. We're not using that space to really start thinking in the right direction because we're allowing
I
that
don't
to
think
take
so.
place.
I don't
But
agree.
you're
Sorry.
saying
I don't
as
agree
if
with
we
you.
are, as if you're using the vocabulary of we put it there. It's we are holding it in that space. Like, but when this crime has happened to you, where is it stored in your mind? It's stored exactly where everything has ever happened
So
to you.
then you
It's
don't
stored-
And that's the thing. Now, I actually have a scar on my eyebrow from a cop when I was in Philadelphia. They chose to be rough with me, put me into the paddy wagon any way they wanted to. I've had cops put guns in my face when I was 14. I've grown up in that, and I've been arrested more times than I would like to admit. However, if I allow myself to continue to walk through the street and think about what's happened to me, then I wouldn't be as far as I am.
Second,
Right, but
I
you-
would
but you
argue
always
that you
think
are
about that,
walking
right? It's not-
exactly.
one second.
It's with
Like,
you.
it's exactly what I'm saying is you don't like you walk with it and you don't see it as okay, I've been hurt and that's why I'm hunchback, but it's always in the back of your mind and it kind of defines your identity in a way that you are resisting this, right? You are resisting being put in that situation, so
Because
it's
when I talk
something
to
that
cops,
happens to you.
I still approach the cop the same way I would approach you. When I talk to them, hey, this is who I am.
You come to a cop and like, brother, what's up, bro? You
I'll
talk.
talk to a cop the same way. I mean, I talk to everybody the same.
Can I
Do you think there
interject?
is a part of you that isn't through acknowledging that you have been a victim and you're still in this defense mode? That's why you keep on using the word war and fight and in a ring, because you're still in this position where you're like, it is a crime, but I can defend against
It
it.
is a fight, though. It is a fight, and that's the reason why I use this, because once we realize that it is a fight, because they're hitting us, right?
Yeah.
We're being hit. It's
Yeah.
a fight, whether we like to acknowledge that or not. It's a fight, and so you have to say, okay, which position am I in this particular fight that's happening?
Yeah.
Am I the guy being beat into the corner, or am I beating the guy back into his corner?
Yeah.
We
Can
have
I
to
just
talk.
say, I'm gonna interject.
I don't think it's mutually
Guys,
exclusive too.
I'm gonna interject there for a moment and go back to his first question, where do we store these things of victimhood? And when we said in our subconscious, I was listening to something the other day, and it was like you have to unlearn the things that you learned growing up. When you are 5 and 6 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 years old, the things that you are learning are the things that stay with you for the rest of your life. I was born in Jamaica. I grew up in the ghetto of Jamaica. I saw my uncle got shot in front of me when I was 6 years old and died, my favorite uncle. During this time period in Jamaica, there were crimes going on. I had to run from gunshots daily, literally. We moved to the Cayman Islands. I was still a victim of racism and colorism. They had black people in the school, yes, but it was mostly light-skinned. And they would call me black this and black that and black Jamaican and this and that and whatever. So I grew up with a lot of insecurities due to these things that happened to me, due to seeing my mom in relationships that was terrible for her. And I grew to start being in relationships that were terrible for me because I was following her pattern. And I think what Saeed is trying to say is you have to kind of battle against those things that you are subjecting yourself to. It is in your subconscious mind, whether you want to accept it or not. It is what you always revert back to. So you can be like, okay, today I'm happy for a week, I'm happy, and then you revert back to these things that you grew up with, these things that you learned when you were 5 and 6 and 7 years old, because that never goes away, and it's a continuous battle, and you have to keep fighting. So I do get your point with not calling ourselves victims, because we have to just keep the fight going no matter what. And to this day I'm fighting, literally. I have to fight, and I'm just gonna put this out there, like it's very personal, but I battle with depression. And I battled with depression because of all of the insecurities that I grew up with. And I never knew that I had this mental illness, because mental illness is such a taboo in the Black community, that I never knew that I had depression until I went to college. I was 18 years old. I never started accepting myself as a beautiful woman until I was 24 years old. I'm 29 now, so that's 5 years ago. Or going to be 29, so that's 5 years ago. And it's just like you have these constant battles as Black people in society that we have to constantly keep fighting. And this is why it's so important for us to work together. It is so important for us to build each other up, because there's always a battle, no matter what. You can even you have a white mom growing up in white society, but a Black dad, you still have a battle to fight, because your father went through that shit. And the shit that your father went through is the shit that he's going to project onto you. And that shit is going to trickle down onto you, whether you like it or not, because you are a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old experiencing the shit that your father or your Black father or your Black mother had within their lives, and you have to deal with that, and then you grow with that within you, whether you know it or not. It's in your subconscious mind.
It's also epigenetics.
Yes. There we go.
Epigenetics, it's the theory that all the trauma, everything that your
It's in your
ancestors have
DNA.
experienced is actually in your DNA.
It is.
Program.
Now think about this. We have to acknowledge the strength that we have, right? Now, if you were to take, just say, a person this tall, and a person that is that tall. This person right here is a more aggressive. the more aggressive one. He's constantly hitting that person. The tall person, he's saying, hey, I see what you're doing, I see you hitting me, but you know, just stay in your place. Now, realistically, that's who we are. We're the taller person.
Yeah.
But we're allowing ourselves to say we're the victim, and so we're not embracing the tallness that we have, the strength that we truly have. And that's why I'm against victim. Because we have to acknowledge the strength that we have. And we have to acknowledge the fact that they're coming against us because they realize that we're strong.
Yeah.
So eventually we have to say, hey, I see you swinging at me, calm down.
Can I do this mom thing?
Please.
Yeah.
And then Jeff after.
It's like, I totally get why there's this controversy about what word we use.
Yeah.
I totally get all of the things that you're saying. However, and that's where the mom thing comes in. However, I think what's really important, and you begin to touch on that, is rather than looking for where we have controversy, because human beings have controversy. So you get two people together, you're gonna have 4 opinions.
Yes.
Yeah. Rather than that, I really believe that our work is to, one, acknowledge, two, acknowledge that we are not going to have the same opinion about everything.
Yes, of course. 3,
look for beauty, strength, solidarity. What can I do for you? What do you need, etc. Look for building each other up. Look for when somebody's talking about their goals. Walk up to them and say, how can I help you?
How can I support you?
Yeah, how can I help you? And like this internalized, improper use of the word victim, yeah, this internalized thing which says, yeah, but I need help. Yeah, I need help. They need to do this for me. Sort of can get in the way of us doing things
For
each other.
Amen.
You know.
Yep.
Sometimes, but sometimes we need to acknowledge that we personally need help.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
This is, so it's. I think the thing is, it's not a either or. I think that's the key point, is that we don't have to say that I am not a victim, I am strong, I am this. It's that we are multifaceted as humans.
Yeah.
And our histories will define us, and it's not about so much specifically what we have been through, but how we continue to walk the streets despite that.
Yeah.
You know, despite so and it is about, like, again, showing solidarity as a community, and part of why we seek that within the communities, because we know that there are people there who have similar experiences.
Yeah.
Where you can actually say, yes, I need help.
Yeah, they can actually say, yes, I need help. Yes, today I'm feeling weak, and tomorrow I may feel strong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I will have your back when you're feeling.
Yeah, but you know what I mean when I say rather than waiting, rather than waiting, saying I need help,
I
so I'm
think
gonna
most of-
wait.
Hold on 1 second. We're having like introducing conversations. I'm sorry, Jeff had something to say, and then we go to points.
Well, I mean, I'm happy that you brought up the whole point of solidarity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's amazing that you feel that you are a strong person and that there's no victimhood within you. But this just shows that you have the responsibility to then go to other black people who feel like they are victims, who need help in that particular situation, and then give them some of your strength. You know?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say, and I think you'll be with me on that, that it's not mutually exclusive to have some sort of victimhood to understand where your struggle and your pain is from, but at the same time feel like, hey, I'm strong and I can do whatever, you know, I can resist this this oppressions and be strong and drive my strength out of that. So I think this is like
amazing
it goes
point.
both.
Amazing point. Yes,
I
I
wanted to say was that I think that's also the thing. Sometimes we just don't need each other's opinions. We just need each other's support.
Yes,
Yeah.
agreed. That I agree with that. Yes, exactly. We're gonna end that there. I don't know if everything got on film. I don't even care. To be honest with you, I really don't care if all of it got on film. This was a beautiful talk that I think we had, and I think I will try to do this more often if you are open to it. Thank you all for coming out. I know that you guys have places to go. I'm so sorry for keeping you
Yeah, but it was such a pleasure.
Yeah, honestly, I am really extremely grateful that you came. I really feel full. Listen, okay. I don't know if you guys like. Listen to me,
girl. We got you.
Listen, okay.
Thank you for bringing us all together.
This conversation, like
we need
so
to have it more
we
often.
need to see each other and talk.
I believe in astrology. I also believe in God, but I believe in astrology too, and I believe in definitions of what the astrology said. And I'm a Cancerian with a Scorpio moon and Scorpio rising, so I be all up in my feelings, guys. I be all up in my feelings, okay? And my feelings right now, I just feel really full. I feel wholeheartedly just joyous and blissful for this thankful for this conversation, and grateful for all of you. Like, thank you so much for coming out.